So given that we know that social relationships are really important, that it's really important that kids connect their learning across settings, right? So that builds resilience, it builds purpose in their learning. And we know that there's a growing abundance of opportunities to find these kinds of connections and opportunities given the network world. How can we as educators take full advantage of this context of abundance? So again, I'll return to the connected learning model, and it's really what's both interesting and challenging about connected learning is that there isn't a silver bullet. It's not like there's one tool or this one approach that's going to make connected learning happen for you. But the positive thing is that there's so many entry points, so many ways that you can support connected learning, and so many ways you can reach kids in various facets of their lives. And just as a caveat, when we talk about connected learning, we are not saying that all learning needs to be connected learning all the time, right? There is a time and a place for kids to learn basic skills, for kids to learn things that they might not have a passionate interest in. There also needs to be a space for kids to mess around and hang out with their friends in a way that's not colonized by adults trying to get them ahead in life. And so there's a real importance about having these spheres distinct, but we believe that every young person deserves to have that experience of doing something they really care about, supported by people who care about the same thing, and that helps them get ahead in the world. We just believe that every young person deserves to have that opportunity, and there are a lot of young people who aren't. So kids can enter into connected learning from so many different ways. Some kids start an interest because their friends are into it. Peer group drives it. Some kids are born like being passionately interested in something. And some kids get coaxed into doing something because it'll help them get recognized or get ahead in life. And kids are different. Their interests are diverse. Their motivations are diverse. And we think that's actually a huge opportunity. So when we talk about supporting as educators environments that create these conditions for these spheres of learning to connect, we talk about them often having certain features of being production-centered. So if people are making things together, that's often an opportunity for these connections to be built. Shared purpose, so it's not just you're making something, but you're making something for a reason. Whether that's to be civic, give a contribution to your community, to create something beautiful that's going to be shared with others, that there's a purpose, a social purpose to what you're making. And then finally, there's an openly networked component so that you're leveraging some of the opportunities that the network world has to offer a broader stage for young people to connect and share. So I'll close with just two examples from some work that I've been involved in, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about the cool innovations you all are involved in. So are there any library folk in the room? Oh, great. Yeah, so we do a fair amount of work with libraries, and the UMedia network of teen learning labs was founded in 2009 and started with the main downtown library in Chicago, where they opened up over 4,000 square feet for a teen digital maker space. That was modeled on a lot of the findings of the work from our digital youth work. And it was very interesting. The Digital Youth Network partnered with Chicago Public Library on this to create a space that was really unique in the library setting, especially at that time. Now it's kind of a movement to have maker spaces in libraries, whether it's public libraries or school libraries. It was this idea that it was focused on production of forms of culture that really engaged urban teens. So music, spoken word, digital arts, gaming. They created a space that had the tools to support that, as well as mentors who were professionals within those specialties. And all of these kinds of activities, whether it was spoken word or creating music, was done in the context of these projects or these performances, or it's the shared purpose principle. So for example, what you're seeing here is the weekly open mic where all of the spoken word artists would come together and perform and give each other feedback, and then they would go on to compete within citywide competitions and so on. So the music kids, they created a record label. The gaming kids had a podcast about gaming. So there's always some component where you're actually doing something that together that makes a difference in the world. And then finally, even though this is a physical space and a maker space, they're leveraging this idea that they're part of that broader ecosystem of Chicago, whether that's participating in competitions or other citywide kinds of opportunities. And the kids are constantly pushing the outcomes of their work onto the open web. It's incredibly transformative for kids, like even if it's only 2 people who are listening to their gaming podcast, that idea that there is an audience out there for something that they're producing is a really, really big deal. And then the other example I wanted to share is my current passion project, which is a small benefit corporation that we launched last year called Connected Camps, which for the moment is focused on delivering online learning experiences through Minecraft. So again, on this principle of meeting kids where they are with their interests, but also putting a wrapper around them, which is educator scaffolded, right? So our servers are very different from the kinds of servers that are out there in the wilds of the open internet. And we found that especially for parents of young girls, they often weren't comfortable with their kids just going out on like open servers where they didn't know who was going to be on the other end and where there wasn't always a lot of really great moderation. So we have created sort of an environment where we hire high school and college counselors who are, again, these are the passionate peer group. These are the kids who know more about Minecraft than anybody else because they've grown up with it. And we train them to be counselors and run build challenges, to teach coding courses. So it's an authentic peer community around a passion area, but it's one that is highly scaffolded by educational goals that center around creating things together. And so there'll be like weekly build challenges, there'll be survival challenges, there'll be shared governance challenges that our counselors set up to create this sense of good digital citizenship, to model it, as well as push kids to learn engineering and coding and design concepts through their play. And then finally, we don't have to work very hard to make Minecraft openly networked because it's already an environment that lives in this kind of soup of connectivity.